Looking forward, if you had a wish list and Matthew's taking something back to Whitehall, what would you say?
Okay, so I think so there are two issues exercising us at the moment. Firstly, is this immediate need for engineering skills, and there are issues around the number of pupils. Actually, so students in the further education sector, there's about 70,000 students currently taking engineering qualifications, but they're taking them at low levels. It's level 1, level 2 qualifications. Now, of those students, about 50,000 have already done GCSEs. So we need to be progressing them beyond the kind of recirculating them in the system to get them up to advanced level qualifications and advanced level apprenticeships. But I think there's a more fundamental and systemic change that's needed, and that's about numbers of students doing successfully achieving GCSEs in science and maths. So typically every year there's around about 600,000 students who take GCSEs, and of those about half of them fail to achieve basic good GCSEs in maths and science. So we're losing half of our skills base straight away. Now, if you're an engineering company and you've got you're producing widgets, and 50% of your widgets actually fail at the end of your system, you're going to look at that problem. You're going to say, right, we need to fix this. Actually, the current direction of the government is to make the assessment of children at the age of 16 harder, so that we'll fail more. Now, if you fail at the age of 16, the likelihood of you actually achieving your GCSEs later on, your maths qualifications, is really small. And government statistics say about 17% of pupils who fail at the age of 16 will actually achieve by the age of 19. So if you fall off that maths bus, you're not getting back on it. That's the kind of message we're seeing. So we really need to change what's happening in schools, and we really need to make sure that kids are coming out of school with good GCSEs in science and maths. And I think that's the fundamental change that needs to happen.
The long-term need is absolutely vital. In the short term, we've got to be honest about what's happening. The number of apprenticeship starts in engineering over the last year is up 20%, and the number of applications to do engineering at university was up 8% this year. So these are big changes in the short term, and then in the longer term there are now more students studying for maths and physics and sciences than there were a couple of years ago. The only thing I didn't disagree on, I didn't agree with you, Rhys, is the argument that we shouldn't be more ambitious. The whole point of making exams more rigorous and raising standards is to increase ambition in our schools. And if we just make it easier to pass exams, then we don't improve the quality of our school leavers.
Yeah,
so all of the international evidence shows that we have declined in terms of rigour, and we are absolutely committed to reversing that, and that's a really important part of getting to exactly the answer that you want to get.
And then Justin, I think.
Well, I just think I absolutely agree that we don't want to reduce standards, and what you have to do is you have to go back and find out what's going wrong and improve that, fix that problem, then. And at the same time increase standards. You can't increase standards and expect the system to then just...
Absolutely.
I think our experience as Jaguar of going into schools has been very interesting in the sense that depending on the school that we approach, some schools will actually take a backward step when it comes to apprentices, for instance. So do not mention the word apprentice. Gets often told to us when we're going in, because they want, their targets are to get people through students through A level and then to university. So we've actually seen that directly back to us. And I think part of the branding image is to address this issue of vocational versus academic. The second point, just briefly, is about the fog of organisations out there, because as another thing, which is actually something I agree with schools on, they're looking out into a picture which is full of different organisations promoting engineering. Just too many, far too many.
Yeah, three short points. And firstly, building on what Joe says, I know upon the reviews, Matthew, there's been a suggestion there should be a destination measure for schools for about apprenticeships.
There is, and it was first published this summer. So I totally agree with you. But unfortunately, we've only got... So now schools are held to account both on the proportion that go to university and the proportion that go into apprenticeships. Unfortunately, we've only got 1 year's data because we've only been collecting it for 1 year.
Brilliant.
And so over time we'll have more. So that was first published this summer.
Marvellous. The second one that we certainly find is that with schools you need a long-term partnership. We don't sort of have a one-off relationship with the school. We need to work with them on a long-term basis, get our apprentices and graduates and whatever involved in those schools. That way the teachers do understand what apprenticeships, what engineering is about, but it is a long-term journey. If you just visit a school once, not surprised the teachers don't know what engineering is because they've got no contact with it.
Are you encouraged, and do you think that you will attract more women, first of all, and more youngsters in?
I actually feel really optimistic. I think things are moving. I think, the very fact we're sitting here, the Daily Telegraph is sponsoring this gathering, this guy gets it. I think we are really well served by our skills minister at the moment. The engineering sector has got a really good guy who just clocks it and is going to take the whole agenda forward.
Well, better if I could turn that round, which is, that's not pressure. That's probably one of the best. There we are.
Perfect. Keep talking.